What if the reality you're living right now isn't actually solid, fixed, or final? What if every moment around you is bending, shaping, and shifting according to a vibration you don't even realize you're giving off? And what if someone, decades ago, uncovered the science behind this hidden vibration and then mysteriously vanished? Stay with me, because today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and least understood ideas in modern consciousness research, the work of Jacobo Grinberg, the scientist many call the Mexican Einstein of the mind. His theories shook the scientific world, challenged everything we know about perception, and opened a doorway into a field of energy that might explain manifestation, healing, telepathy, and why reality sometimes responds instantly to the tiniest shift inside you. But before we get there, let me ask you something simple. Have you ever had a moment where you thought of someone and they suddenly called you? Or you walked into a room and instantly felt its energy without anyone saying a word? Or maybe you made a decision with pure clarity, and life rearranged itself almost immediately as if the world snapped into alignment with you. Jacobo Grinberg believed none of these moments were coincidence. He believed they were clues pointing to a deeper truth, that consciousness is not a passive observer, it is the architect of reality. In this video, we're going to explore the radical theory that made Jacobo famous, feared, and ultimately controversial. We're going to unpack his Syntergic theory, a model that proposes there's a hidden field of information around us, a kind of universal matrix, and your brain is not a machine trapped inside your skull. It's a receiver, a tuner, interface between your inner world and the energetic blueprint that creates everything you see and experience. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Grinberg didn't come to these ideas by accident. He combined neuroscience with ancient shamanic practices. He studied the electrical patterns of the brain. He measured the mind states of healers, meditators, and even shamans, who performed what many people still call impossible acts. His research suggested that when a person reaches a certain inner vibration, a very specific, coherent state, reality responds instantly, almost obediently, as if your personal frequency tells the universe how to behave. Throughout this video, you're going to learn why Jacobo believed consciousness can shape physical reality, how the brain tunes into a larger energy field, and why certain people can create instant change from healers to manifestors. You'll also discover the strange, lesser-known experiments Jacobo conducted that left other researchers speechless, and you'll learn the one thing he discovered that could be the real reason your manifestations work or don't work. This part alone is worth watching until the end, because it's rarely talked about, yet it may explain why some people break through instantly while others feel stuck for years. And because we're talking about Jacobo Grinberg, there's always a touch of mystery. There are events in his life, especially near the end, that still have no clear explanation. But those stories also reveal why his theories were so powerful, and why some people believe he got too close to something humanity wasn't ready for. So stay with me, because if Jacobo was right, then your thoughts are not just happening inside your head. Your emotions are not just feelings. You are influencing reality every second, whether you realize it or not. By the time we reach the end of this video, you'll understand the vibration Jacobo believed could make reality respond instantly, and how you can begin to align with it in your own life. Welcome to Awakened Synchronicity. If you're ready to explore the deeper layers of consciousness, transformation, and the hidden forces shaping your life, make sure to subscribe. Let's begin. Before we talk about how vibration shapes your reality, we need to understand the foundation behind Jacobo Grinberg's entire theory. The mysterious field he called the Syntergic Field. This isn't just another spiritual metaphor or a poetic way of describing energy. In Grinberg's view, the Syntergic Field is the invisible architecture behind everything you experience. It's the background grid of existence, the blueprint beneath physical matter, the hidden matrix that holds information long before it becomes form. Some people call it the lattice, others call it the universal matrix, but Grinberg saw it as a non-local field of consciousness that exists everywhere, all the time. It doesn't sit in one place, it doesn't move, it doesn't change unless you interact with it. And that interaction, according to his research, comes from your mind. This field isn't made of particles or waves, the way science normally describes energy. Instead, it's made of information, pure information. Think of it like an infinite ocean of patterns, possibilities, and structures waiting to be shaped. Everything you see, the room you're in, the people in your life, the emotions you feel, the events that unfold, all of it is built from this deeper informational layer. Grinberg believed that what we call reality is simply one version of this field, filtered and organized by consciousness. Your eyes don't see the whole field. Your senses don't pick up the entire matrix. They only reveal the version of it that your brain is able to decode. This is where things get interesting. Grinberg proposed that the brain isn't a generator of consciousness. It's a receiver, more like a radio, more like a tuner. It doesn't create the broadcast, it simply interprets it. The Syntergic Field would be the broadcast, and your brain is the device that collapses that limitless field into something you can experience. This is why two people can walk through the same situation and perceive it completely differently. Your brain is not showing you the world as it is. It's showing you the world as you are tuned to it. Your beliefs, emotions, memories, expectations, and inner state act like filters. They determine which aspects of the deep field become real for you. Even modern thinkers, writers, researchers, and people exploring consciousness echo this idea. Some describe the field as a living, intelligent matrix. Others say it behaves like a giant informational web where every thought and intention leaves a trace. But Grinberg took it much further. He believed that when your brain becomes more coherent, more unified, more aligned within itself, it connects more clearly to the Syntergic field, and when that connection strengthens, reality responds faster and more precisely to your inner state. Imagine the field as a sheet of untouched clay. It has endless potential, but it takes the shape of whatever presses into it. Your consciousness is that pressure. Your vibration is the shape, and your brain is the sculptor that brings the form into existence. This means your internal world, your attention, your emotional frequency, your thought patterns directly influences the field. Not metaphorically, literally. Grinberg's experiments suggested that certain mental states, especially states of unity or deep focus, create a stronger imprint on the field. They collapse the informational patterns into a more defined reality. This is why some people seem to manifest instantly. They aren't luckies, they're interfacing with the field more clearly. They're tuning into it with less internal noise. And when that happens, the Syntergic field becomes more responsive, more precise, more willing to mirror their vibration. So before we go deeper, remember this. In Jacobo Grinberg's view, you are not living in a fixed world. You are living in a filtered version of an infinite field. And the clearer your inner state becomes, the more accurately that field reflects what you hold inside. Before we can understand how reality obeys consciousness, we have to talk about vibration, the invisible language that Jacobo Grinberg believed communicates with the universe itself. In Grinberg's view, consciousness isn't silent, still, or empty. It vibrates, it pulses with a frequency, and that frequency isn't random. It reflects your emotional state, your beliefs, your clarity, and even the level of coherence inside your mind. When your inner world is chaotic, your vibration becomes scattered, unfocused, and weak. But when your inner world becomes ordered, aligned, and intentional, your vibration strengthens and rises. And according to Grinberg, this rise in vibration is the secret key that lets you connect more deeply to the Syntergic field, the universal matrix that holds the blueprint of reality. This isn't vibration in the usual physical sense, like sound waves or electromagnetic fields. It's subtler than that. It's the frequency of consciousness itself. Think of it like the emotional tone of your inner world. Every thought has a tone. Every feeling has a weight. Every belief you hold, whether empowering or limiting, sends out a subtle signal. And when all of these inner signals become coherent, when your heart and mind point in the same direction, your consciousness begins to vibrate more clearly. Grinberg believed that this internal coherence is what allows us not just to observe the Syntergic field, but to influence it. The higher and more aligned your vibration, the more deeply you connect to that universal informational field. And once that connection strengthens, reality becomes surprisingly responsive. One of the most astonishing pieces of evidence Grinberg used to support this idea came from his work with an extraordinary shaman in Mexico, known as Pachita. This is where his research crossed from laboratory measurements into territory that many people still struggle to explain. Pachita was said to perform something referred to as psychic surgery, not metaphorical healing, not symbolic rituals, actual surgical-like procedures, without tools, without anesthesia, and in many cases without leaving physical scars. Witnesses described organs appearing as if formed from thin air, damaged tissue being replaced, and people recovering from conditions that traditional medicine couldn't solve. It sounds unbelievable, and that's exactly why Grinberg went to study her in person. He didn't go as a believer, he went as a scientist with electrodes, machines, and an analytical mind. He wanted to understand what was happening neurologically when Pachita performed these acts. What he found was remarkable. Pachita entered a deeply altered state, a state of intense focus and surrender at the same time. Her brain waves showed unusual patterns, almost as if the hemispheres were communicating in perfect harmony. To Grinberg, this wasn't magic, it was vibration. He believed Pachita had learned how to raise her internal frequency so high that she merged with the Syntergic field itself. In that state, she wasn't bound by the limitations of the physical world. She was interfacing directly with the informational matrix behind matter, reshaping it, reorganizing it, and manifesting new patterns that became physical organs, tissue, or healing. Grinberg didn't claim Pachita was unique. What made her different was her ability to access this elevated vibratory state repeatedly and on command. He believed that her consciousness tuned into the universal field with almost perfect precision, and because the Syntergic field is informational, not physical, she was able to alter the underlying information that forms physical reality. If the field is the source code, she was rewriting the code. To understand how this works, Grinberg created a three-part model to explain the mechanics behind vibration and reality. First, he described the neuronal interaction, the constant electrical activity inside your brain. This electrical dance creates what he called the neuronal field. It's like the signature energy pattern of your mind. Every emotion, thought, and mental focus changes this field. When your brain is scattered, this neuronal field loses coherence. But when your mind becomes aligned through intention, meditation, presence, or emotional clarity, the neuronal field becomes stronger, more unified, and more resonant. Next, Grinberg believed that this neuronal field interacts with the universal energy field, the Syntergic field. This interaction is where your internal state meets the deeper blueprint of reality. The moment these two fields connect, they create what Grinberg called an experience pattern. This pattern shapes the reality you perceive. In simpler terms, the universe is responding to your vibration by forming experiences that match your frequency. Your inner world shapes the outer pattern. The third part of his model is what he described as the central processor, which is essentially your consciousness, the part of you that interprets and organizes everything the brain receives. This processor takes the experience pattern formed between your neuronal field and the Syntergic field and turns it into what you perceive as reality. So in Grinberg's model, your consciousness is not sitting inside a physical world, it is participating in the creation of the world, moment by moment. The key to this entire mechanism is vibration. If your brain's field vibrates chaotically, the interaction with the syntergic field becomes weak or distorted. You end up experiencing a reality that feels random, confusing, or stuck. But when your internal vibration rises, when your emotional state becomes lighter, when your thoughts become clearer, when your intention becomes steady, your neuronal field resonates more strongly with the syntergic field. That resonance allows the collapse of new patterns in reality. In other words, your vibration determines the level of influence you have over your life. But Grinberg didn't stop there. He emphasized one more essential principle: non-resistance. He believed that resisting your current reality only strengthens it. When you fight something emotionally, you give your energy to it, and in the language of vibration, that means you continue to recreate it. This is why people who desperately want change often stay stuck. Their focus is on what they lack, what they fear, or what they wish would go away. That emotional resistance lowers vibration and reinforces the same patterns in the syntergic field. To manifest meaningful change, Grinberg suggested a different approach. Intend and then release. Set your direction clearly. Feel your desired state deeply. Let your vibration rise, but do not cling to the outcome. Do not grip it with fear. Do not chase it from desperation. The moment you cling, your vibration drops, and you break your alignment with the field. But if you stay in a state of openness, steady intention, calm expectation, inner trust, your vibration remains elevated. In that state, the syntergic field becomes more responsive. Reality begins to shift with less resistance, less time, and less effort. According to Grinberg, emotions like gratitude are some of the highest frequency states you can access. Gratitude doesn't fight reality, it harmonizes you with it. It raises your inner frequency instantly. And when gratitude becomes your baseline vibration, your consciousness tunes more clearly into the syntergic field. You stop being a passive observer of life and become an active participant in shaping it. So for Grinberg, vibration wasn't just a spiritual idea, it was the operating mechanism behind conscious creation. It was the bridge between your mind and the universal matrix. And when you master your vibration, when you learn to raise it, stabilize it, and release resistance, you begin to experience reality as something fluid, responsive, and deeply connected to who you are inside. The practical side of Jacobo Grinberg's work always begins with one simple truth. Your vibration is not something mysterious or far away. It's the energetic tone of your inner world happening right now inside your awareness. Tuning that vibration isn't about forcing a certain emotion or pretending to be positive. It's about creating coherence between your attention, your emotion, and your inner silence. Presence is the first doorway. When you pause, breathe, and actually notice what is happening inside you. The tension in your shoulders, the rapid flow of thoughts, the emotional charge below the surface, you begin to reclaim the energy scattered by unconscious patterns. Grinberg insisted that attention has a direct shaping effect on the syntergic field, meaning that the more aware you are in this very moment, the more influence you have over the reality that appears around you. Self-awareness becomes a tuning instrument. You can feel when your inner world is dense, heavy, contracted, restless, chaotic, and you can feel when it's light, spacious, open, fluid, and receptive. This isn't something abstract. You can sense the difference in your breath, in the velocity of your thoughts, in the tone of your emotions. Dense vibration usually shows up as irritation, fear, overthinking, or emotional heaviness that pulls your attention downward. Light vibration feels like clarity, calmness, inspiration, and an inner expansion that flows through the body like warmth. Grinberg taught that this personal vibration is constantly interacting with the syntergic field, the informational matrix that underlies physical reality. When you notice your own state, you're actually observing the part of yourself that co-creates the world. Clearing internal blocks becomes essential because density doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's the echo of past experiences, beliefs, and emotional imprints that distort the field. You don't have to fight those blocks, you only have to bring them into awareness. The moment you see a limiting thought or an emotional knot clearly, without judging it, it begins to lose its hold on your vibration. Awareness itself dissolves. Distortion. That's why Grinberg emphasized inner silence, not the absence of thought, but the absence of identification with thought. When you detach from the noise inside, the field reorganizes into a more coherent state, and that coherence becomes a magnet for new experiences. Meditation becomes a simple but powerful method to raise your personal frequency, not a ritual of escaping the world, but a practice of tuning your energy, sitting quietly, allowing your breathing to slow, letting your attention rest in your body. This shifts your vibration from a scattered frequency to a unified one. Even a short moment of internal stillness sends a ripple into the Syntergic Field. In Grinberg's view, these ripples reorganize the informational structure around you, opening the door to synchronicities, insights, and subtle shifts in perception. Affirmations, when used consciously, can also act as vibration-shaping tools. It's not the words themselves that carry power, but the emotional state they activate. A phrase like "I am aligned with clarity" works only when you feel the vibration behind it. You're not trying to convince yourself, you're trying to tune yourself. Every emotion carries a frequency, and when your words awaken emotions of trust, openness, or expansion, they lift your vibration into resonance with a more coherent field. This is where manifestation becomes a natural result of resonance rather than force. According to Grinberg's Syntergic theory, the external world isn't separate from you. It's a projection, a reflection, a co-creation of your inner state. When your vibration resonates with coherence, the Syntergic field responds with patterns that match that harmony. Changes don't appear because you willed them into existence, but because your frequency aligned with a new version of the field. Reality begins to shift, as if obeying effortlessly, not because you manipulated it, but because you became energetically compatible with the outcome you seek. This resonance creates a subtle feedback loop. The more coherent you become inside, the more coherent your outer world becomes. You start noticing opportunities that were always there but previously invisible. People respond differently to you. Circumstances shift in ways that appear almost magical, but are actually the result of a deeper synchronization. Grinberg believed that the Syntergic field is responsive, sensitive, and alive, and when your vibration becomes stable, calm, and focused, it amplifies your ability to influence it. There are many examples in Grinberg's research where heightened vibration led to tangible material changes. During his studies of healers and meditators, he consistently observed that shifts in personal energy produced measurable effects, accelerated healing, changes in perception, moments where participants described entering deeper layers of reality, where time, space, and matter felt less solid and more fluid. He often worked with shamans who demonstrated the ability to affect the physical body through pure intention and vibrational focus. These weren't tricks, they were expressions of coherence, interacting with the informational matrix. The more aligned and elevated the inner vibration, the more dramatic the outer results. One famous case in his research involved subjects who, through deep meditative entrainment, experienced immediate changes in their physical sensations, warmth, tingling, even relief from chronic pain. Grinberg documented moments where shifts in attention patterns led to changes in visual perception, as if the brain were reconfiguring its interpretation of reality in real time. These observations supported his idea that reality is not fixed, it's fluid, shaped by the interaction between consciousness and the Syntergic field. Higher vibration doesn't just feel better, it literally reorganizes how reality appears. But the deeper you move into this territory, the more you begin to understand why Grinberg's life and work stirred so much controversy. His disappearance remains one of the great mysteries of modern consciousness research. A scientist exploring the limits of perception and the structure of reality suddenly vanishes without explanation, leaving behind notebooks, theories, and a trail of unresolved questions. To many, this mystery symbolizes both the potential and the danger of venturing too deeply into the mechanisms behind consciousness. When you explore the layers of the field, you're not just studying energy, you're interfacing with the very fabric that shapes existence. Grinberg believed that extremely high vibration states could open access to information beyond ordinary perception. But this isn't something everyone is ready for. High vibrational exploration requires psychological stability, emotional balance, and a grounded sense of identity. Without these, a sudden expansion of perception can be overwhelming. The Syntergic Field isn't a toy, it's the structural code of reality, and interacting with it consciously demands a level of responsibility and maturity. There's also an ethical dimension. The power to influence reality through vibration means the power to influence other people's experiences, perceptions, and emotional states. Grinberg warned that any attempt to turmoil the field with ego, fear, or personal gain creates distortion, and distortion eventually collapses back onto the one who created it. Coherence arises only from clarity, compassion, and authenticity. When your vibration becomes strong enough to affect the world around you, you must operate with integrity. Every intention becomes a message to the field, and the field responds with precision. As you deepen into this understanding, you begin to see that tuning your vibration is not just about improving your life or attracting outcomes, it's about entering into a conscious relationship with the fabric of reality. It's about remembering that you are not a spectator, you are a participant in the creation of experience moment by moment. Grinberg's work invites you to approach this power with humility, curiosity, and a sense of responsibility. When your inner world aligns with coherence, you contribute not only to your own transformation, but to the healers of the collective field. As we reach the end of this journey, remember that the secret vibration isn't a magic trick or a fleeting idea. It's a profound way your consciousness interacts with a deeper, universal field that surrounds and shapes everything. Jacobo Grinberg's research shows us that reality isn't fixed or distant. It responds to the frequency you emit. By consciously observing your inner state, cultivating awareness, and practicing non-resistance, you begin to align with this field in ways that can subtly yet powerfully influence your life. Start small, notice your emotions, adjust your thoughts, focus on gratitude, and experiment with simple alignment exercises that elevate your vibration. The universe is always responding, but it only mirrors what resonates within you. Reality may obey, but first you must choose to resonate. If this video sparked curiosity or gave you insight into your own power to shape reality, make sure to like this video and subscribe to Awaken Synchronicity for more explorations into consciousness, energy, and transformation. Your journey has only just begun.